So good afternoon once again. First of all, thanks a lot, BW Business World, for giving this opportunity to be here. And frankly, it's not easy to come after such an insightful discussion that we have in the panel. Dr. Batra, congratulations for organizing this third edition of Business World Conclave, and also my congratulations to all the corporates who will be recognized in this conclave. Net zero has been discussed. Net zero has been on everyone's mind. What perhaps I will try to share with you is a bit about how do we get to doing this net zero stuff, right? You are all our experts here. I'm sure you will have your own practices on taking your organizations on the net zero path. Perhaps we'll have some exchanges here and discover as to what is the best way to do it. I'm not going to be advising anyone. It's all collaboration and learning from each other. Some insights that perhaps I have captured is what I will try to share with you. You're able to see the slides, all okay for you? Yeah, so about 10 minutes, 10, 12 minutes to share my thoughts. Climate crisis is a big issue for all of us, and we all know about that. In many ways, we have been experiencing this, right? We have unseasonal rains, extreme hot weathers. We have some forest fires every time going all around the world. The latest one was in Canada. So this is all happening, right? It is all impacting our lives. If not that severely, it will in days to come. So, and as per IPCC, this climate crisis is called Code Red. It is perhaps the planetary emergency that we are all facing. And corporates, individuals, all of us have a lot to contribute. What I will try to focus here is this whole climate crisis, how they're connected to greenhouse gases, and how these greenhouse gases ultimately result into global warming, creating the climate crisis. So this is largely the context that I'll be talking about. As you see here on the screen, we are talking about greenhouse gases that we emit in a year is close to about 59 gigatons. Okay, this is the overall inventory of greenhouse gases that the planet emits. 2022 numbers. Now, what is interesting is there are different types of greenhouse gases. I'm not going to that. You're experts around that. What I want to focus here is on the element of CO2, right? As you see, CO2 is by far the biggest greenhouse gas that we are talking about. And more interestingly, CO2 that we emit, and this is what I want to bring closer to all of us, CO2 that we emit on account of our energy consumption. Okay, if you see the CO2 that we emit on account of energy consumption is as high as 36 gigatons in a year, right? Close to about 81% of total CO2 in the world is on account of energy consumption. What do you mean by energy consumption? I mean all the energies that we consume in our homes, in our factories, in our businesses, on the road, traveling. This is the energy ecosystem that I'm talking about, and we all are party to it, right? These energy systems contribute to about 36 gigatons of CO2. So when I share my thoughts about becoming net zero or getting onto the path of net zero, what I'm referring to mathematically is how do we make this 36 gigaton really near to zero in coming years? Is it possible? How easy? How difficult? These are the thoughts that I'll share. Just to give you some perspective, since the beginning of Industrial Revolution, 270 years back, our energy consumption has increased 50 times, right? And perhaps if we go around the world on the same trajectory, you will see the impact in terms of global warming. But before that, I want to share a bit more about where all we consume energy, to what extent that is kind of creating the impact. If you see right there, buildings and industries, we consume close to about 70% of our energy. And that's a sizable thing that all of us really work, live, think, ideate. So that's the big area for all of us to think. These are global numbers. India numbers are down there. And if you see with respect to the way the energy is generated, coal and oil really constitute a lot of emissions. On an annual basis, we mine and consume 8 billion tons of coal every year. We mine and consume close to 4 billion tons of oil. We mine and consume close to 3 billion tons, 3.3 billion tons of gas. That's the fossil footprint that we have for this planet, and this is the resultant of what we do. All right? As I was saying, if we continue on this path of our energy consumption, we are all hungry for energy. We all consume a lot of energy. If we go down this path for, let's say, many more years, what we see is a global warming trajectory of 4 to 6 degrees centigrade. This is what we'll end up doing to this planet, right? Now, we all know the climate scientists have been very, very clear, and there is a target for all of us to limit the global warming, to limit the temperature rise of this planet to 1.5 degree, 2 degree or preferably 1.5 degrees. So we are far from that trajectory, right? We had a very interesting discussion in the morning, and we talked about the net zero commitments of organizations, corporates, nations. You know, just to put things in perspective, more than 80 countries have pledged their net zero targets. More than 4,500 corporations worldwide have pledged their net zero target. If you all put together, the emissions that we reduce is just about 4 gigatons per annum, and that still puts us on the global warming trajectory of 2.4 to 2.7 degrees centigrade only. We are nowhere closer to 1.5 degree. With all these commitments also, we are falling significantly short. So lot of actions, lot of things we have to be doing. By the way, again, these are global numbers. I have Indian specific numbers also. Maybe if time permits, I'll share. Now, what is hence necessary, and that's what I'm trying to land this message, we have to be much more aggressive. We saw in the previous discussion, we have to be much more aggressive. We all have to be much more ambitious in our net zero targets. Two important milestones. 2023, first important milestone is that by 2030, we need to bring down our emissions, 36 gigatons of CO2, perhaps to 50%, 15 gigatons per annum by 2030. And when we do that, we see a possibility of making these emissions almost zero by 2050. If we do this, we perhaps are on 1.5 degree trajectory, right? Now, is it possible? Is the question. And it is possible. It is for us to make it possible. And that's why I say the time to act is now. The time to act is for all of us, me and you. Just to, give a bit more perspective, this planet is 4.56 billion years old. Oxygen came to this planet about 2.4 billion years ago. Now, and that's how the life system started on this planet. If I have to compress the entire lifespan of this planet into, let's say, a 24-hour format, human beings came on the scene after 23 hours, 59 minutes, 57 seconds. We are just 2 lakh years old on this planet, right? And as I said, since the beginning of Industrial Revolution, just about 270 years ago, we kind of started changing the overall trajectory of this planet. Human beings, 8 billion of them, have become a planet force, a planet-sized force for us on this planet. So we, whether we like it or not, all that we do or don't do have an impact on the species, on the sea that we have, the biosphere, the lithosphere, the atmosphere. Everything can be impacted by all that we do and don't do, right? So that's super critical for us to act now. We have only time of 1 generation. And again, going back into the math of emissions, we have the carbon budget for the planet as per climate scientists of only 500 gigatons of CO2. Every year we do 36 gigatons of CO2 already. So we have a budget of just about 500 more. So you can you can see what are we talking about in terms of timelines and the urgency. The moot question is, how is this possible? That's what I'll try to throw some light on that. These are two reference documents that I'll be using in my talk. You are free to download. They are all available. These are the documents that Schneider Sustainability Research Institute has created, and it is available in the public domain back to 2050. And this one is dedicated specifically for the India net zero pathway. It's called Path to Developed and Decarbonized India. So maybe if you want, you can download a copy of that. I'll share insights of this research report. Other than managing the climate crisis, which I talked so far, there's another important area so far as energy is concerned. Energy is indeed a lifeline for all of us, yeah? And, but still we have about 800 million people on this planet who don't have access to electricity. All right, so we have a priority of providing access to electricity, access to energy for these 800 million people. The second important priority is about the energy equity. There are about 2 billion people on this planet who do not have a good availability of electricity. When I say availability, I mean reliability and also the affordability. Right? So this is also something that we need to be addressing. This is what I call as energy resilience, right? So on one side, with regard to the energy ecosystem, we have to get back to 1.5 degree trajectory of global warming, bring down 36 gigaton of CO2. On the other side, we are talking about 3 billion people on this planet to have a good energy equity. This is the overall objective. Now, how do we do this? There are two parts to it. One is the demand side, which is what I'm talking about here, and the other one is on the supply side. Now, what do you mean by demand side? Demand side is where all of us interface. The way we use energy at homes, industries, corporations, businesses. This is what I mean by demand side scenario. One thing which is very interesting, and this is what I want to put a point here, is there is a huge potential on the demand side to be more smart in the way you consume energy. And this is what I'm trying to talk about is energy efficiency. Energy efficiency, resource efficiency is not a new thing to us. We all know it. But it is important for us to ponder here that digital energy efficiency, the latest technology available to harness full potential of energy efficiency is available, and that is going to be a big enabler for you to reduce energy and get to reduction of CO2. Look at this way. If we talk about electricity, right? Significant part of electricity today is generated, close to about 75% of electricity is generated on this planet by burning fossil fuels. And what is the overall efficiency of this ecosystem? 3 units of fossil fuel you burn in the power plant, you get 1 unit of electricity, right? So if you save 1 unit of electricity, you save 3 units of fossil fuels. That's a multiplier effect. That's the power of energy efficiency, right? As I said, technologies are available for us to deploy in our sites, in our demand sectors to make it more efficient. And to tell you, best-in-class energy efficient buildings are 70% more energy efficient. Best-in-class hotels and hospitals are 50% more energy efficient. Best-in-class steel plants can be 30% more energy efficient. So energy efficiency is indeed a significant enabler, and we have technology available for that. For your homes, for your factories, manufacturing, different processes, for heating, for cooling, we have energy efficiency solution. And please, I would invite all of you to look more seriously on what are your energy efficiency architecture, principles, and methodologies. The second one is electrification. Today, electricity has been around for more than 150 years. But unfortunately, only 18% of world's energy is supplied through electricity. What happens? Remaining 82, fossil fuels. Right? As a matter of fact, electricity, Thomas Alva Edison, when he created the bulb in 1850s, 1870s, exactly in the same time was the first commercial oil well was drilled. So pretty much both started at the same time, but significantly going forward, the fossil fuels took over the world and electricity was still just about 18-20% of energy source. Now, why I'm harping about electricity is because this is a very unique source of energy. It's the only vector of energy which can be decarbonized on the demand side, energy efficiency, and also can be decarbonized on the supply side by using renewables. There is no other source of energy which has got this dual impact in making it greener. Electricity is very, very unique in that sense. Do we have opportunities to electrify more? Certainly. In your offices, in your factories, in your manufacturing, in your cooling, in your furnaces, there's a huge opportunity for all of us to electrify. At our homes, do we still use electric cooking equipment? No, we don't, right? We use ovens and things like that, but largely it is the cooking gas. Cooking gas, is it emitting CO2? Yes, it does. 1 kg of your LPG is equal to 1.5 kgs of CO2. Can you electrify? We can. Do we have appliances? We have, right? So electrification is another very, very big enabler for us to decarbonize and get onto the path of net zero. All in all, on demand side, energy efficiency and electrification can really contribute to 55% reductions of your energy-related emissions. That's the math, that's the calculation, right? And of course, very, very famous, most popular discourse around around decarbonization is about renewables. Renewables has a great role to play. We all know that. I'll not emphasize further. And in particular, India, the way we are looking at it, one of the 3 commitments that we have as part of our net zero commitment is increasing the renewable generation capacity to 50% by 2030. So we are by far one of the big renewable country, going to be a big renewable country. That also has a big, big contribution. So all in all, demand side actions of energy efficiency and electrification can bring down your emissions by 50-55%. If you start changing the supply side to greener renewable sources, it can bring down to about 45%, right? So that's the equation that I propose for all of us to get to net zero. As I said, we have very clearly indicated in the report, sector-wise, how do we play out this equation, right? A demand side, supply side equation to get to zero or near zero emissions. We have just a summarization of what I spoke. We have about all the technologies available for us to do this. And this is what you see, 70% of technology is already available and the rest is on the way. Now, if you talk about, again, taking a minute on energy efficiency, we have all the technologies here. If you see some few popular examples that we are all aware, Indian Railways, one of the largest Indian railway systems in the world. Indian Railways want to become net zero. How? First, it will electrify the entire railway system, and then the electrification will be supplied by renewable, and that's how it's going to become net zero, right? We also have heard about in India, and we're very proud of the program, EESL program of LEDs. What did we do? Again, full leverage of energy efficient appliances. We have star ratings in India for energy appliances. These are all in the right direction. In the industrial context, I said digital energy efficiency. We start with sensorization. Look at this way. Energy is invisible, first of all, and energy efficiency is the absence of invisible, right? So it becomes really complicated, and that's where digitization really comes in. We have all the digital technologies for your processors, for your systems, even for your homes. You sensorize it first so that you exactly know what is being consumed, where, and then you have perhaps a software to run and automate the whole operations. And the third thing is all the data that you now have sensorized and gather, you can have a big data engine running and supporting you to help you with analytics, peer benchmarking, so much so that you will have artificial intelligence coming in and creating perhaps a digital twin of your energy system, right? So these are the technologies available, and this is how we can really unlock the opportunities of energy efficiency. So the way we see at Schneider Electric, this is how it'll play out in the world, right? Digital for efficiency, electric for decarbonization, and this is what perhaps will help us to become more sustainable, bringing down my 36 gigaton of CO2 almost to zero by 2050 and getting back to 1.5 degree temperature or global warming trajectory. So that's all I had to share with you, and this is our purpose statement of our company. Our purpose is to make the most of your energy and resources to bridge progress and sustainability. At Schneider, we believe that progress, growth, improvement in lifestyle, well-being, and climate and sustainability are not mutually opposing. They are mutually inclusive. Both can coexist. That is what is the vision of our company, and that is what we endeavor to do. And I rest my case. If you have any, I don't know if you have time for any questions, but anything burning, maybe if I can take the permission of the organizers to have one or two questions. One question? Okay. So anything quick, I'll be more than happy to answer. Yes, please. There is one. There are two. Yeah.
Hi. So it's through the solar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how far India is like moving ahead with the solar energy,
Okay.
and how you are using it?
All right. First of all, thanks for this question. And I really don't 100% agree with your viewpoint that solar or perhaps the renewable is the magic going to do the magic for sustainability. Sure, it is a big contributor for sure, right? But I would urge you to see on the demand side the avenues available for making your energy consumption more efficient, avenues available for electrifying. And by the way, energy efficiency pays for itself. We heard the way technology is expensive, vagera, vagera. But energy efficiency technology, we have a solid payback, right? As early as 2 years or less than 2 years, right? So I would really urge all of you to not just look at the renewable and the supply side and the solar evolution as the only way to decarbonize, look more on the demand side. So that is what I would make the point. However, yeah, coming to your point, India has a very, very massive renewable ambition. 50% of, let's say, the power generation should come from renewable by 2030. Our power generation capacity is about, let's say, 420 gigawatt. This is going to become.
I just heard
Yeah.
in one of the
Yeah. Yeah.
post from
Yeah.
LinkedIn
Yeah.
that morning 2 hours of sunlight
Yeah.
gives maximum
Absolutely.
amount of energy
Yeah.
that can be consumed up to 300 or 400 hours.
Yeah.
So why not?
Absolutely. Be careful. Even when we talk about solar, there are resource issues here. Storage, solar panels, you need water to clean solar panels, you need so much of photovoltaic raw material to make solar panels, it needs land for setting up solar panels. So all the supply side greenification will come with the resources crunch, resources issue that we're talking about. Look at this country, okay? Today, we are the most populous country, right? 1 out of every 6 people on this planet live in this country. But we have access to just about 4% of the fresh water of the world and only 2% of the land of the world, right? And it's very constrained. Resources are very, very constrained in this country. In terms of, let's say, I was reading this, on an average, at a world scale, we have 422 trees per person, but India, we have just about 28 trees per person. Right? So anyway you look at it, the resources are very, very constrained. So you want to put more renewable, more, it will cost us in terms of resources. Sure, we'll do it. We'll have a fine balance of it, but do not take your eyes off on demand side of reducing your energy consumption. I think the time has come for all of us to be a bit gentle on this planet with our consumption. And it all boils down to your lifestyle. You are not talking about lifestyle emissions here, because that's not the purview of the conclave. But at the end of the day, it boils down to one's lifestyle, the way we manage in our homes, in our families, in our community. And I appreciate what Mr. Mishra was saying in the previous this thing. We are, as a country, a great storyteller. I really appreciate our Honorable Prime Minister in Glasgow talking about life, right? Lifestyle for environment. I think that's a very, very pertinent point, which I want to place in this August gathering. I think that's was the only time I have. Thank you very much. Pleasure talking to you. Thank you. Have a lovely conclave.